Hi, everyone. Welcome to another week of Author Pep Talks. If you haven't, um, if you haven't seen me in a while, I have been out, but I am so excited to be back. My name is Bekah Brinkmeier, and I am one of the author coaches and instructors here at AutoCrit. Yay, Team Plantser, for a shout out to my Novel 90 folks. So, welcome. The topic today is rather dear and something I am myself working through right now. It is the concept that the only way out is through. So if you've been feeling stuck, worn out, or like your book is taking forever, you're never going to catch up, you are absolutely not alone. This isn't going to be my normal kind of pep rally. It's kind of a real talk, but a kind one, because if writing was easy, everyone would do it, but you are doing it, or at least you're trying to, even if it feels like you're trudging through wet cement some days. So let's talk about why that's okay and why the only way out really is through. So if you clicked on this and you're still here, I'm guessing that you're feeling behind. I am too. I missed almost 3 weeks in July, which means that's 3 weeks because I was ill that I wasn't able to write. So I am now 3 weeks behind on a rather aggressive production schedule, and I don't love that feeling. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe even a little defeated, maybe a lot defeated. Maybe there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and it just feels impossibly wide. If that resonates with any of you, I know it resonates with me sometimes. First of all, I want us to take a breath together. So let's try it in. Ready? Breathe with me. You are not alone. You are not failing. This is part of the writing life. It is. It's messy. It's nonlinear. It's beautifully frustrating, but it is part of the writing life. This is the advice that I have for you today. And the strategies that we're going to go through is that the only way out of this is through. So the purpose of this pep talk, it's going to talk about how we get unstuck, how we build momentum, how we move forward, even if we already feel like we've failed. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what it means to keep going, even when the going isn't easy. All right. I want you to raise your hand or put in the chat if you feel any of these things. I should have finished this draft by now. I fell off my routine and I don't know how to get back. Everyone else is making progress except me. So let's start with this very heavy, very common feeling, right? The feeling of being behind. Maybe you're telling yourself, I had a plan. I had it all worked out. The beginning of the summer, I knew what I was going to do, but I didn't stick to it. Hey, it happens. Everyone else is doing better than me. Are they, though? I want to gently challenge that today because behind is a feeling, not a fact. I'm going to repeat that so that you can internalize it. Behind is a feeling, not a fact. There's no universal timeline for creative work. There can be deadlines that are difficult to miss. As a ghostwriter, I have really hard deadlines for my clients that require an adjustment to my contract if I am late. But generally speaking, there's no universal timeline for creativity. There's no writing police that are coming to revoke your author card because you only wrote 3,000 words instead of 30,000. We don't have any enforcers. They're only in my hockey romance. And comparing yourself to others. You know that expression, comparison is the thief of joy? It is true. When you are comparing your first draft to someone else's highlight reel, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Those two things aren't comparable. Let's work on today reframing this. And I don't want to dismiss this feeling because it can feel extremely real. Instead, I want to soften its grip that it has on us because I know when I'm feeling these things, it makes it so much more difficult to take the next step because I'm too busy wallowing. I'm too busy thinking about everything I have done incorrectly or been unable to do, and then I'm unable to move forward. So, why do writers get stuck? And I will not permit any of you to say that it is because you are inherently lazy. My guess is you're living a human life. But some of the common ways that reasons or explanations about why we get stuck is our goals start to feel bigger than our energy. Who here has had really big goals and then really low energy? I have fully own that. As someone with chronic illness, and especially my migraines have been a little wild this summer, it can feel like my goals are out of reach because my energy is too wrapped up in trying to understand why it feels like there's an ice pick behind my eye. What about when we get stuck because progress isn't matching our expectations? Maybe you have been writing every day, but it's harder than you thought it would be, and you're not writing whatever it is you thought you were going to write per day. Maybe you thought you were going to say, you said you're going to write 5,000 words a day, which is pretty ambitious for a lot of folks, and you're writing 500 words a day. So your progress is slower, and you're unable to see anything other than it's slower than what you wanted. Maybe, and I'm living proof of this, life throws you a curveball. I did not expect to come home from my vacation to be violently ill for several weeks. I didn't expect multiple hospital visits, but here we are. Life throws curveballs, and it always will. And for those of us that are neurodivergent, maybe you are or managing a chronic illness or you're caregiving or you have something else going on that's really taking up a lot of your bandwidth, these moments for us can feel like permanent roadblocks. It can feel insurmountable at times. And I just want to gently remind you that they are not, in fact, insurmountable. They are part of the terrain that we have to learn to navigate. We can get through them. So let's reframe the idea of progress because I think a lot of us get stuck in this trap. Progress isn't always visible. I want you to write that down. Progress isn't always visible. You're still in the process, even if you're not writing every day. So for me, when I thought about how I would reframe this, I came down to this kind of silly expression, but if the mountain feels too big, don't climb it today. Yeah, don't climb the whole mountain today. Me, I'm an indoor cat. I don't want to climb the mountain at all. So if the mountain feels too big, don't climb it all today. Instead, choose one task. If your goal is to climb that mountain, but you don't have all your stuff together and you don't know when the mountain trail opens or any of that stuff, you're going to need to choose one small task, just one, to help move you towards that goal. That could be as simple as rewriting a single paragraph. Maybe you had an idea for some snarky dialogue that you wanted to have your hero say when he's facing the villain, and that's all you have energy for is to put those couple lines in and pat yourself on the back for your comedic genius. Do it. Because if the mountain feels too big, don't climb it all today. Maybe you want to name your character. You have a side character that you've been noodling about. Maybe naming your character and getting a few of their details out, maybe that's what you have the energy for today. That's progress. Momentum starts with the tiniest motion. You just have to show up. It's not always visible, and you're still in the process, even if you're not writing every day. So, tip number 1, we need to run an expectations audit. That is something that we do to kind of master this process of moving through. Excuse me. Let's talk about the expectations you've been carrying for yourself. Let's talk about it. I want you to ask yourself, were your original goals sustainable? Did you or did you not make a writing plan that assumed you'd always have 100% energy, quiet space, and zero disruptions? I've done it. I know for a fact that I have none of those things, and I still make that plan. Why? I don't know. It's probably something that is deeply seated in my goal that someday, maybe this time will be different. I don't know. 90 books in, it's never different. Did you make a writing plan that assumed that? Did you build your goals during your high energy week? I am so guilty of this. I will set some sort of ridiculous goal for myself on a high energy week, and then the next week is a low energy week, and I'm like, what goals? I don't know her. So, did you build your goals at the high energy week and then you beat yourself up when reality didn't match? Did you do that? We've all done it. So here's your permission slip from me. If you need it or want it, adjust your goals. You can change them at any time, they're yours. Adjust your goals. Give yourself some grace for the expectations you put on yourself previously. Plan for the life you actually have, not the fantasy version. I have a toddler. And I didn't write as much as I wanted to during my postpartum period. I had great plans, so many great plans that I was going to just spend my days snuggling with this baby. I was going to just nurse, write, and go on walks. Well, my baby didn't sleep. Like, he's 2 now, and he's just started sleeping through the night. He didn't sleep. Which means I was so exhausted all the time that I barely knew my own name some days. Plan for the life you actually have, not the fantasy version. I wasn't able to write the entire series that I had planned to write that year because I was too busy existing in some sort of delirium for months at a time. No, we got through it. It was a season. I am so grateful anytime I get more than 6 hours of sleep. It is like a gift. I have become so good at napping. But this was the reality. If I had held myself to those expectations, I would have just frozen. I can't do that and still write an entire series if I couldn't remember if I put chai or not in my iced chai and one time I put vegetable broth with I was making a iced oat milk chai. That was not chai mix that I put in there. It was vegetable broth, and that was a really horrifying realization for my one treat of the day. So plan for the life you actually have, not the fantasy version. Tip number 2. Forget catching up. It's a trap. It's a trap. Let's restart. Start small, write one sentence, open the document. Small actions build real momentum. If you're always playing catch up, you're never moving forward. Instead, restart. Let me reiterate for those of you that I know have told me that you're very literal. I don't mean delete your work and restart your work. Restart where you're at with your work. Just for that. All right. This one can cause people to have a lot of feelings, but I want you to press pause on rereading everything. Hear me out. It's a sneaky productivity trap. It's another trap. You think, I'll just reread what I've written to get back into the groove, right? Seems normal. Sometimes if we've been away, we have to reread a little bit. But what actually happens when we do this? So a lot of us fall into editing mode. If you're in Novel 90 right now, we're in editing mode for August. You start critiquing. You start to spiral into doubt and a lot of feelings. Instead, try this. If you have an outline, read your outline. Full stop, read your outline. If you are working, let's say you stopped on chapter 7, I want you to read all of chapter 7, not the whole book. Just read chapter 7. Continue on. If you have a general idea, you're really good at remembering where you are, just skim the last paragraph to get your bearings. If you have character sheets, read those. If you have notes, read those. Get yourself back into that mindset slowly without having to reread the entire book to get your bearings. Perhaps you just want to jot down a couple bullet points of where you think this is going. That's fine. Maybe you want to make some annotations onto your outline because you're looking at it with fresh eyes and you're like, I don't really like that event. I wonder if I can change it. Change it on the outline. Then write forward. All right. It's not going to be perfect, just forward. You don't need to reread to reconnect to everything. You just need to re-enter your work. All right. Tip number 4, try a visual tracker. Question, what do you think I'm tracking? Do you think I'm tracking word count? Do you think I'm tracking hours? Do you think I'm tracking number of times I use adverbs? I mean, I do track time and word count separately, but what am I asking you to track here? I want you to track your effort, not your word count. I want you to ask yourself, did I show up for my writing today? Yes or no? Did you do something writing related? Then you showed up. If you like stickers, I still give myself a sticker chart sometimes because I have adult money and I want to spend it on stickers. Maybe it's stickers. Maybe it's a check mark in your notebook. Maybe it's a check mark on a visual calendar. Maybe it's a digital habit tracker. Maybe it's how many times you've put words into your document on our streak tracker in AutoCrit. Maybe that's what you're using. This is not about perfection. It's about building a chain of intention. That's how we get through. We build a chain of intention, especially if you struggle with motivation or executive function or mood. Visual tracking gives you a concrete reminder that you're trying, that this matters. I want you to give yourself a gold star, literally, if you have one, because your brain is going to thank you. So the other last thing I kind of want to talk about is the fact that emotional resistance to these changes, it will happen. I want you to write through the discomfort and not around it. Coming back to a project that you feel like you abandoned can stir up all kinds of feelings. Feeling behind and then trying to get back into it can bring up feelings of shame, feelings of frustration, fear that it won't work this time either. And that's okay. That's part of it. You don't have to wait until you feel confident or inspired to begin again. Right through the discomfort. Not around it, not over it, through it. Because sometimes the tension that you feel, it's actually growth trying to happen. Right through it. You can do this. One of the things that one of the actually stories that I love the most out of all the stories that I've written, I wrote partially in the hospital. I was with a family member that was very, very ill. And I needed to I was available to sit at their bedside and they were sleeping a lot. And I don't know if you've ever spent a lot of time in a hospital, those chairs, awful. And there's not a whole lot when you're kind of sitting vigil other than to be present and there. And I wrote some deeply, deeply emotional prose while I was there. Um, I changed the book that I had been writing based on the environment that I was in to something that I can't even put the right words together of how much that book means to me because it was raw, it was emotional, it was real. And it was kind of hard to sit there with my tiny little tablet because I don't want to disturb someone by using dictation or anything like that. So I'm just typing away on my little like tablet the size of a Kindle and pouring all of the feelings that I had about this incredibly tragic situation that I was in and poured it into my fiction because it allowed me a quiet thing to keep my brain occupied while my family member napped. And I I did write through that. It was physical discomfort, but it was also creative discomfort. I wrote through it, and it was one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had in my career. I'm not saying you need something tragic or terrible to happen in order to feel this. Sometimes it's just sitting down at your desk if you haven't been able to do so for a while. But whatever it is, I want you to lean into it. I want you to give it a shot. Writing through the discomfort, not around it, not over it, but through it. So, I want to leave you with this. There's no magic formula, there's no perfect reset button, but there is the choice to try again. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to catch up. You just have to keep going because the only way out is through. And you're more capable, or you're capable of more than you think. Your story matters, and the world is better with your voice in it. So get out there, dust off your story, give yourself another, make yourself an iced chai, this time with chai and not vegetable broth. Just right. All right, friends, that's all I have for you today. And I hope this was even just a tiny bit helpful. I believe in you. Your rest of your coaches believe in you as well. And I am hoping you have a fantastic week this week. Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye.